Hey everyone, and welcome to Already Cancelled. I'm Peter, that is Connor, and we are going to talk about Star Trek, the original series, Season 3, Episode 7. It's called Day of the Dove, so full spoilers for the episode, as always. This episode, the crew, or the Enterprise, is mysteriously summoned with a distress call from this planet. But when they get there, it does seem like a colony's been destroyed, but there's not real any evidence of anything that's actually happened there.
There's no evidence that there was even a colony there in the first place.
Yeah, they think there's a colony. That's what the distress call had in it. But they're there and like, oh, what's going on? There's nothing here. And then Klingons show up. And it seems Klingons also got a call out for this place. And then seemingly their ship gets destroyed. And they think the Enterprise did it. They think the Enterprise has destroyed the ship. But Kirk's like,
reasonable assumption.
And like, well, we didn't do anything. What's going on? So the Klingons sort of fight back. Kirk kind of tricks them the way back up with the teleporter. A little bit of trickery.
Yeah.
You know, I won't do any funny business once we get to the ship. That was his loophole.
It was.
So he kept his word because the funny business was before they got to the ship. It was in transit. But then we have a group of Klingons on the ship. A few more survivors for their ship as well, and we have Klingons on the ship. But over the course of the episode, seemingly, tensions keep rising, and some sort of alien entity, this orb of light that's kind of floating around that we've been seeing here or there, is going around the ship. And it seems to be making everyone more angry and tense and basically racist. Some characters start feeling very racist toward Klingons back the way, and then as it really gets to boil, even like some Spock stuff with Vulcan starts going back and forth. And it seems like this entity, for whatever reason, wants them to be at a war. It makes a point of making sure that X number of the Enterprise crew are actually locked up. They're trapped in the lower decks.
I think we only have around 38 Klingons, so we only get about 38 of our crew available.
Yeah. So they tell us, which is actually way more than we've ever seen of the crew, but that's neither here nor there.
Hey, but out of like, what was it, 400 or something like that?
Yeah, that's what the sayings on the ship, yeah.
Yeah.
So, that is the premise of the episode. And of course they'll try to figure out why it's going on, and will Kirk be able to keep his wits about him and not start going angry and mad like everyone else? So, we shall find out. So what did you think of Day of the Dove?
I actually don't think it's that bad. I think
it's
there's
not
some
that
stuff
bad.
I liked in this one.
Well, I mean, looking over the IMDb rating, it's got an 8.0, so this is clearly one that people consider to be a better episode of season 3. No, it's because when the Klingons showed up, I was like, okay, we're doing a Klingon episode. I see what they do with this. And it became so they want the ship, and I thought that was going to be most of the episode, but of course we keep seeing this light entity. And it's once we get back to the ship, it's clear. Okay, no, there's something more to this, because I think it's McCoy. They're in the lift at one point, the turbo lift, and he's like, he gets really angry at the end because he's like, oh no, the Klingons, we don't need any evidence, and he just walks out, and I'm like, that was really racist. That's really out of character for McCoy.
And then you have some really strange things like Chekhov, where down on the planet he starts going on about the Klingons that killed his brother, and I was like, all right, well, we've never heard about any brother before, but, Star Trek's pulled this before.
Oh, yeah, because my reaction to that was, I didn't know he had a brother, that's interesting. And then, of course, later on, the little twist is that Sulu, who maybe knows him better because they're always on the bridge together, he's like, wait, Captain, he doesn't have he's an only child. Yeah, he doesn't have a brother. And then even Uhura's like, why does he think he's got a brother?
Yeah.
Because the whole point being that he's got this personal vendetta, because the backstory that he's got in his head is that his brother was on another outpost that was destroyed by the Klingons.
Yeah.
So he's out for blood, he's out for revenge. Which is funny, because again, we started the episode with, it was Kirk, Spock and McCoy and Chekhov on the planet. It feels like Chekhov is almost becoming the fourth main dude.
Yeah, he's the new number 4, isn't he?
Yeah. Well, how much Scotty? It depends what's happening, because Scotty's kind of the number 4, but certainly in the last couple of episodes, he's been kind of going on the missions with him.
I feel like Scotty has a lot more place on the ship, though.
He does, yeah.
So they typically take Chekhov down more often now, I find.
But he's acting all funny like that. If I speaking of Scotty, actually, his hair was completely different in this episode, and it made me think back to the previous few, and now I'm thinking about it, I think he was wearing a wig in the first, 5 or 6 episodes.
maybe.
Because his hair was really. Like, I noticed it when we started season 3. But I just assumed, oh well, it's another season, different haircut, I guess.
Yeah.
But it looked really kind of tall and just. And I didn't really think about it. It was whatever. I don't really care. But it's just in this episode he has really short hair, and I'm like, was he wearing a wig the last like few? Now I know he can get it cut, but the reason why I think he was wearing a wig is because it was a completely different. Because it was like jet black before, and now it's like it's greying because he's middle aged.
Oh yeah, I mean, there's hair dye as well. Just the washout stuff.
I mean, it's possible. I don't know. It's just
It could be that
the size and the very strong colour versus what he had in this episode just made me think he's probably wearing a wig for whatever reason.
No, I agree. It's either a wig or dye and then a cut.
Yeah.
It could go either way.
I don't know. It's just I don't know. I noticed it. I was like, man, his hair's really different again.
Yeah.
But hey, so that is that is not important, but it's something I noticed, so I brought it up. So we actually, I mean, there's a decent enough set for the planet at the start of the episode, and then it's all on the ship after that, which I'm not complaining about, but that's just kind of how it worked out.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like it's cheap being on the ship though.
No, because it's very much that we've got Klingons on the ship, which we've never really had before. I don't think it's always been down a planet or a station or
neutral ground.
Yeah.
Or yeah.
Whereas here it's none of the here, and obviously the other thing that big happens is that halfway through the episode, all of a sudden these swords start appearing out of nowhere, and then even the phasers that the Enterprise crew are holding turn into swords, and it's clear that this entity wants some classic, combat, dueling. No phasers, no high tech weaponry. Just
And actually, they pointed out that the Klingons have maintained a dueling culture, so sword fights are still part of their culture now.
and outside of Sulu, the Enterprise crew are screwed.
Pretty much, yeah. Sulu, we've seen him with a sword. He knows what he's doing.
Yeah, basically, like humans and maybe the whole Federation, all those planets, they may have it as a hobby, but like, it's not something that's been kept in their training or anything.
Yeah, not anymore. It hasn't been for hundreds of years.
Yeah. Why need it? Well, because there might be a magical alien entity one day that forces you into a sword fight. That's why you might need it.
No, I mean, I guess the general benefit is, it's something a bit of a different skill set, right?
Yeah. Well, yes. That said, I think there's some things you can safely. I remember this didn't happen to me, but I remember back when I was looking at various, unis and colleges to go to. There was a couple doing like production and that kind of thing. And when they were teaching editing, they insisted upon teaching you to do it the old-fashioned way with like tape decks first. And I'm like, why? There's no need to go back to that ever. It is just there's no positive to it, and it was all just about training the respect of understanding how hard it used to be and how tedious it was.
Yeah, when I was at college, we had a module just on the principles of it, just so you understood it. But we never actually had to do it. I know when I was in uni, there was an optional, like a 6-week course that you could take do it if you wanted to. Just because, just as like an extra thing. But
I feel like the principles of editing are actually easier to understand when you can just move things around.
No, I agree. Yeah.
Non-linear editing is like just. But anyway, the point I'm making is that sometimes there's things that you just shouldn't go back to. It's fine. We can move on with the world.
Yeah. It's worth learning for the history, but it's not worth actually doing.
Yeah. Because that was just tedious for the sake of tedious, I thought. But regardless, although I understand why someone would want to learn sword fighting, because it's a skill.
It's completely different to using a gun.
Exactly. It's a different skill. It's but exercise, I suppose, is I guess one of the reasons why people go fencing and learn all that jazz. Or they're just really into sword and sandals movies and want to hold a sword.
I'm sure many of them are.
Yeah. So that's kind of the gist of the episode, and then as we said, like, they start getting angry, and like there's points where like Kirk and Spock, like even they start to clash, and they're on the bridge, and it's actually Scotty. I actually thought Scotty dropped an F-bomb at one point because was it his hands? He said, "Get those Vulcan hands away from me," but he said it so quickly that I was like, "Did he just say get those effing hands away from me?" That's what it sounded like too, but and it was
Three of them are proper going at each other, aren't they?
Yeah, it was funny because I feel like they mentioned racism a couple of times, but they did it every time without saying the word racist, and I was just wondering, was that word not maybe in as much circulation in the 60s, perhaps? because they said, or I think Spock at one point said racial issues or something like that. They sort of danced around the exact term of just saying we're acting racist.
Mm. No, no, that's a good point. I never noticed, but now that I think about it,
It may be nothing. It may just be how they chose to phrase it in the script, but
could be.
I
It
was just
could be
wondering.
a sense of, generally speaking, racism isn't such a big deal in the future. Because obviously, for the Federation at least, there's all these things. They all work together anyway, right? So maybe it's not in
Oh
the
yeah, so the idea is that in Star Trek's future is a thing of the past. So
right.
they're speaking about it as if it's this alien concept that they haven't had to deal with in a long time,
Exactly, which is why they kind of phrase it weird.
which is
Perhaps.
extremely optimistic, and I applaud the thought, but
It is. It
it
is. It is.
feels naive at this juncture in time. But so no, so the sort of that. But Kirk's like, no, we have to play it cool. We have to play it cool. And a big part of the episode, of course, is is this our first lady Klingon?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. Because Kang, who's sort of the lead Klingon, who's like constantly trying to pick a fight with Kirk, his wife and science officer, which I actually kind of chuckled a little bit where he said, "Oh, this is my wife, also my science officer," because I immediately went, "Oh, that's like Kirk and Spock."
Yeah, it's just Spock. I did the same.
Spock, that's his version of Spock's married to him. That's kind of funny.
Yeah.
But so a part of the episode is like sort of convincing her that, hey, there's something else at play here. This isn't just us trying to fight each other. And she ends up being sort of instrumental and kind of trying to convince Kang and the other Klingons at the end, hey, there's something going on. This isn't just like, blood for blood. There's something happening that's affecting us here. And I'll be honest, I was shocked how dark one of the scenes with her got with Chekhov. Like
Yeah.
I was not
full on
expecting this.
sexual assault there.
Yeah. I mean, obviously they stop before it goes, any further than just the opening step of it, but I was shocked they even implied that someone was about to be raped on Star Trek.
Yeah, that threw me. I was
Yeah.
like, whoa, okay.
Star Trek Discovery, sure. I mean, I half expect, like,
Yeah, yeah, I know what you get at.
a serial paedophile in that show. It wouldn't feel out of place on Discovery, but, like, Chekhov, while he's under control of this entity making him angry, he's like, oh, yeah, you're very beautiful. And it's funny, because one of the things we like about Chekhov is how much of a horn dog he is, but that's kind of sullied it, because it was like taking it and twisting it, and he's like, oh, you're very beautiful.
I know.
And he
it
rips
was just
apart
last
of her...
episode we were joking about it as well.
I know, but he rips part of her it wasn't a dress, but like her top.
Yeah.
And he rips part of that and goes in for a kiss. And then Kirk and that luckily show up. But I was like, man, this feels really dark. Like I was not calling Chekhov trying to rape a Klingon as something that was going to happen at any point in this show. So that was genuinely kind of shocking.
I agree. That it threw me. It had weight as a moment though. It didn't play it lightly. It knew it was a big moment.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. It wasn't playing it as some frivolous little thing. Even though Kirk is also affected and Spock has to hold him back, you still kind of feel the weight because Kirk punches him in the face like 3 times.
Yeah.
When he catches them doing this, and Spock's like, "Hey, like it's not him. Like he's not under control. Something's affecting him here." He's like, "Yeah, me too," because that was a bit excessive. But so
Yeah, one punch would have been fine.
So they're clearly showing that people are being affected daily by this. Because at one point, and this is the other thing they bring up as well as part of the episode, is that this thing does not want it to end, so it doesn't let them die. Like if it gets them to a kill state, it kind of like intervenes and stops it from happening. Because at one point the Klingons get control of the engineering deck and they shut off all the life support outside of the engineering deck. So we see on the bridge. I actually thought the lighting was really cool. It was actually really nice to see the bridge be all dark for a change.
It was, wasn't it?
Yeah, and they were just them lit, and everything else was kind of moody. And it's like, okay, so life support's going out. We need to try and fix this. But then eventually it just kind of came back on. It was like, no, the entity's like, no, they were going to die. So the entity's like, no, I want this war to keep going.
And all the people in sickbay are healing quicker than they should be.
Yeah.
They're all just kind of getting better so they can get back in the fight as quick as possible.
Yeah, so McCoy's obviously noticing that and whatnot. So obviously a big thing here is they mention that it's been 3 years, and there's been no dispute, no conflict between Klingons and the Federation. And by the end of the episode, it's kind of like, okay, this is another reaffirmation of them like kind of coming together by the end, and because ultimately, eventually, like Kang comes to see reason because he sees the light orb and he sees what's happening to them, and Kirk calls over the comm and says, "Hey, everyone, ceasefire!" Because as they're fighting in the engineering deck, we see a bunch of red shirts and Klingons just like going down the hallways of the Enterprise, like sword fighting.
That looks all right.
Yeah, well, it looks alright except the swords. I actually hate how cheap and like fake the swords look.
That's true. Yeah,
It really bothers me that they think this looks okay.
yeah, yeah.
And I especially it's not even like movies at the time were using swords this fake. Like they still had metal swords. Sure they made sure they were blunt so that just in case anyone slipped and you know.
But swords were all over the place at the time.
Yeah. So, but it's just it looks cheap and fake. The swords is like
It
it
does.
doesn't look like metal. That's the main problem. It's
They
not.
look too light. Yeah.
Yeah, they look light. They look like they're plastic or something. Ugh. But yeah, other than that, but then of course there's a moment where Kang comes over and then sort of confirms the order over the comm, so all the Klingons also know, right, ceasefire. And honestly, my only critique of the ending is, and this has happened a few times recently, I feel like it just like goes out really quickly. Like they give the order a ceasefire, they're kind of in the room, and then it just cuts to the exterior of the ship, and the executive producer credit comes up.
Yeah, yeah. They kind of give a little speech about how you're working together is the way forward.
Yeah, and of course that's very Star Trek, forward-thinking
Yeah.
messaging, rest of it. But I just felt like, oh, I need a scene after this where, like, my decompression scene at the end where Kirk, Spock, and McCoy are kind of
A little
talking
bit of
about it.
banter.
A little bit of banter. Maybe have McCoy say, "Oh, I was acting really weird," and just have him acknowledge that he was acting out of character. Not that I knew he was acting out. I knew there was a reason for it, but it'd have been nice to see him sort of look at it and go, "Yeah, I was acting like a
That was
nut job."
weird. Yeah.
Yeah. Because even Spock at one point, of course, says, "Oh, you filthy humans! I have to work with you. I hate it."
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I think it was Sky's like, well, why don't you transfer to a different ship then?
Yeah. Dear. That was pretty funny. I'm not gonna lie.
It was. I have a question. So they mentioned how it was 3 years since the end of the war, right? With the Vulcans, not the Vulcans, the Klingons.
I don't know if it was 3 years since the end of the war or just 3 years with no incidents.
Okay.
Because it sounded more like the incident. Because it sounds like they mean it's been 3 years since that season 1 episode where they kind of made peace at the end. You know, remember when we had
I
that
get
third
that.
party who wanted them to like sort of see reason and not and stop
Yeah,
fighting.
but wouldn't it have only been 2 years since that in the show's timeline?
Why do you assume the show's going at real time?
Because it's a year per season. Because it's the 5 year mission, right? So it's three each season is a year of the mission.
Is that a definitive fact?
I believe so. I thought that was that's what I've always been told.
I just never thought it was as strict as that. I just
Oh, fair enough. I was always told it was that, and then
the continuity's not.
it's not dead on. No.
So I just never took it as serious as that. And I'm just going with what happened in that episode, which felt at the start of some sort of peace. And them saying it's been 3 years since an incident, I just kind of took that as the.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know if them getting into a fight with Klingons during the Tribble episode counts as an incident. I mean, maybe it should.
Was a very as far as incidents go, it was not the worst. It was a bit fluffy, wasn't it?
It, really?
Yeah, I know. That was awful.
Yeah, I mean, I guess what they mean is there's been no big, incident where, like, our governments are actually like, making calls on things. It's, if Tribbles maybe doesn't count because it was just a fight and they solved it themselves without it going up higher up the food chain.
Yeah, which is why I was thinking maybe it was the end of the war, because that would have been okay. No, here's the official truce from there, unless there were points after that.
But Star Trek Discovery told me the war ended 9 years before the start of the show.
Did it?
It did, yeah.
I mean, did it though? Did the war end yet in Discovery?
They pretty much did. I mean, they could come back next season and tell me that they're still like not quite ended the war, but it felt if they do that, it's going to feel annoying. It's like, no, we're done.
Well, but,
We're done with this.
I appreciate that, but I feel like it was quite a quick war considering. So that I don't know.
I don't care.
Yeah, look, I like continuity. I like being able to place things in a timeline. What can I say?
Well, do you actually think the war's going to go on for another like? Well, it'd even be 7 years. It'd be like 9 years, 8 years, maybe. Because it'd have to end a year before the start of the show.
A year before the start of the show, but I mean, we went through like a whole year over season 1 of Discovery, right?
Yeah, so that's so it ends about 9 years before.
Yeah. So, did it start 10 years before?
Yeah.
Okay, I thought it was slightly less than that.
Nah, it's 10. So no, I didn't take what he said as it's been 3 years since the war ended. That's not how I took that.
Okay, fair enough.
I took it it's been 3 years of just no incidents. Peace.
Well, it makes sense.
How, I don't know, because every time they run into each other, the Klingons are just gunning for blood.
They're very
every
aggressive,
time.
aren't they?
Yeah. They need to calm down. Could got some temper problems. Oh dear. That was if I'm going to fault the episode, actually, it's probably that you can't tell they're even affecting the Klingons because they always act this way.
To be fair, though, they kind of addressed that at the end when Kang's giving his speech at the end to the entity. He goes, "Hey, we don't need any help to hate humans."
No, that's true. That's true. I think maybe if they did something more extreme than normal, just to show that, oh no, it's affecting them too, like they are.
We know it's affecting them because they're worried about the Federation torturing them and stuff. So it's put these ideas in their head, right?
You know what? I never even considered that. Mainly because it just sounded plausible that was their propaganda. When Lady Klingon was saying, "Oh, I've heard what you do with your torture camps," I'm like, that just sounds like something Klingons would probably spread.
It does. I just assumed with them both saying it in the same episode because our crew say the same to the Klingons, right? Yeah, like that's what they expect from them, and I guess we do expect it more from Klingons.
We do expect it from them, though. That's why I never took that as the entity planting something. I guess my other complaint would be that there's never anything like they just sort of like stop fighting, insist that you're not going to feed off our hate anymore. It just kind of leaves. And I don't need an explanation for what it is, but there was never any like it just leaves. It's gone.
Yeah, no, that's true. It's off to find a meal somewhere else.
There wasn't even like they didn't even name it. It's just the entity.
They didn't. It's just the hate entity.
Yeah, just leaves. They don't like try and stop it or think maybe we should try and stop this thing before it causes an actual full blown war somewhere.
Yeah. I mean, these two ships got lucky because we had some rational-ish captains.
Yeah.
But what if they get into worse situations? Some other captains that are a bit less.
I suppose arguably it stops them from killing each other. So maybe even a full blown war with this thing wouldn't even be the worst thing ever. It'd be bad, but it wouldn't be the worst.
It would, and Kirk kind of makes the point of it. It kind of feels like it would just keep them in here for eternity. Like it's not going to let them die. He says, "Oh, who knows how many lifetimes we'll be fighting." So I think the impression is that they're literally just going to be on that ship fighting for years and years and years. There's not going to be outside communications to let people know.
That's obviously that's part of the plot is that they can't communicate with anyone. But I think that's the obvious metaphor for what this message is that the fighting will never end until you say no, enough's enough. Let's stop fighting. Yeah. It's really quite simple. Stop being at war and make peace. This just takes it and turns it into a literal. No, you're literally never going to stop fighting unless you just decide to stop. So a nice little message. I don't think it's the best Star Trek episode ever, but I thought it was solid enough. Some fun moments.
One of the best ones this season for sure.
A couple of shocking moments. Well, I mean, it's episode 7. We've had one good one, really good one so far.
Yeah, so this is probably number 2.
Yeah, it's probably number 2, but that feels like a worthless statement at this point.
I don't know, 2 out of 7. That's reasonable.
One of the best of this season, 7 episodes in, is just kind of a weird thing to say.
Opinions, whatever.
Oh dear. Anyway, so that's Day of the Dove.
Yes, it is.
Let us know what you think of this episode in the comments below. Like, subscribe, all that stuff. Get us on the Twitters at mail_fuzz for channel updates. If you want to support the channel, head over to patreon.com/mailfuzztv. You can get a link to that in the description, but otherwise that is us. So thank you once again for watching. Keep watching TV, guys. We'll see you next time.